Hello everyone, this is our week resume. We're gonna come up with a presentation of all the messages and important things that were said during this week. We've made a kind of PowerPoint presentation where we can resume the keywords and everything was happening during this last week. It was the week between the 12th week. So let's start by telling a few words about us. We're a group of professionals who get united against COVID 2019. We decided to organize this virtual space to prepare and provide options for vacation rental professionals. We don't really have the formula on how to solve the situation right now, but we have a lot of tips on options that we may provide here so you can, with your own vision and your own experience, you can use to get out of this situation as soon as possible. The members of these platforms are industry providers, property managers and experts that generous people who has different views and who wants to give a hand to professionals in the sector to get out of this situation as soon as possible. So let's go. And before doing the resume, we just come up with a story, the timeline of what happens to COVID. And just to remind some dates were important. The 1st of January, it was when the China government reported to the World Health Organization that there was a virus causing massive infections, and they didn't really know how malignant it was, but it was the first warn. It seems that going back, the first case was in November. This is more or less what the Chinese authorities have reported, but they only reported to the World Health Organization 1st of January. By the 23rd of January, 23 days later, they locked down Wuhan province, which was 40 million lockdown. And that is when we started to see those images of coming from China, people locked down at their houses. We saw police officers, the army in the streets trying to clean it up. That was in January 23rd. It wasn't that far from there. So in February, Italy, Spain, and France, they started to struggle a little bit and to suffer the consequences of this virus. We knew a little bit about the virus, we didn't know much, and there were some areas in the north of Italy, like the Como, Milan area, that they were locking down the areas. Not really locking down, but some kind of locking down. France was also taking measures, Spain too, but they were very, very little measures. I think by that time, governments, they still were thinking about the economic impact instead of the health impact, which was the most important. And here from the US, America, and Canada, by February, everything was fine. Expectations were coming over, like not trying to believe that this was going to impact their countries. So it was quite okay. But in March 11th, so not that far from the beginning or middle of February, the President Trump locked the borders with Europe and canceled all the trips from Europe. That was it was an impact day because I don't know if you remember, little by little, back in time, some organizations like the Vacation Rental Managers Association, who had an event the 15th of March in Lisbon, already canceled. So people started to see that something was going on and something was getting serious, but not until they saw President Trump locking down the borders of the US with Europe. They were not taking this thing serious. And by then, most of the countries like Spain, France, they started to lock down people at home. Italy too, obviously. Okay, so after that, in Friday, March, Friday 13th, so we choose the right day to create our platform, the Vacation Rental Safe Harbor, to provide urgent and immediate options to PMs, property managers that will start suffering consequences of COVID 2019. It was pretty fast. Everything came pretty fast. Nobody really believes or remembers how it happened, but it was suddenly a lot of people were started to worry about their business, about their bookings. They started to see that this was a serious thing, that it wasn't so far away, and it will have a huge impact on their business. So by then, a group of professionals, we got together, we reacted, and we decided to create this platform to bring options to people, to have them or provide them as much options as possible. And last week was week number 12 of the year. We had been in contact with a lot of property managers, a lot of experts, property experts, market experts, analysts, etc. And we prepare some kind of panels, videos, and articles that we have been distributing on our website, which is www.vrsafeharbor.com. There, we put in a lot of content that you can go and see now. No? So we're going to present to you key conclusions of the first news regarding what happened during this week. We also had a lot of successful impact on lots of the sector. We've seen a lot of people doing likes, not only in LinkedIn, in our group in LinkedIn, but also in the website, reading articles, which it's a good motivation for us, because all we do here in this platform is altruist, is non-profit, and we do it with the purpose of providing information to property managers and bring them options. So let's go with the weekly keywords. So during this week, we made a lot of panels with experts, with property managers. There were some keywords, we divided in 6. There were many keywords, but one was flexible cancellations. The other one was the number of cancellations that happened. Professional needs, which was this kind of transformation of some urban areas where properties could be converted to host professionals like doctors, workers, whatever. Quarantine tourism, which was a word that came out by Tom, and suddenly we started to think, well, yeah, there was a lot of people moving through cities to countryside, beach areas, and they were renting properties for a long-term period, and it was called quarantine tourism. And the reason why these people were moving is because they didn't want to stay in big cities, so they may wanted to go to properties nearby their relatives, so they need to be close. So it was a business. It was some business moving out over there. All the data analysts that we had, they were giving us some clues and some ideas on how this was moving. We also talk a lot about landlords, property owners, and how to manage this situation, which is critical for property managers, but also for property owners and landlords. So there were a lot of things too. And also we talked about domestic tourism. In short and middle term, definitely international tourism is going to drop down, and the only options to recover some tourism will be local. We were talking about many things, about flexibility in cancellation, so it's now time to be flexible. That's obviously a reason is because or you are flexible or you're out of the market. You need to flow. At this time, you need to flow with the market, flow with the demand, be very careful about what the market is asking for, and be flexible, and try not to transform, no 100% your business, but get adapted to the new needs. No? And cancellations, flexible cancellations is a keyword for keeping bookings for summer, same as if you want to sell bookings. The 80% and 90% of cancellations in urban areas. Summer holidays still are on hold, especially July and August, but we don't know what is going to happen. That will depend on how long this health crisis will end. We also were talking about these needs that came up on cities, professional needs, doctors, nurses, people who's working directly, police officers, people who's working directly with infected people that they want to protect their families, they need a place safe, harbor, where to stay, and they are renting properties. Also some experience we've seen in London with the British Association, Mary Lee, she's been saying, and moving strongly, and she has a good impact on that. Also, we've seen in this quarantine tourism that a lot of people move from urban areas to countryside. That's also important. If you're in those areas, you may have an opportunity. With the landlords, you need to renegotiate contracts, try to ask them to be more flexible in prices, and be transparent to them, and make them become your real true partners. At this point, there were some property managers that they were saying that this may be also a good opportunity to reduce your portfolio or clean up your portfolio. If you don't have this kind of property manager, property owner or landlord who's cooperative, who's understands the situation, is flexible, if it's not the case, it may be a good time also to clean up your portfolio. And domestic tourism, That was the word that everybody was predicting, that not a lot of international, not at least in some destinations, but there will be definitely a lot of tourism, local tourism, because after this lockdown, a lot of people will need to move. So probably, depending on the international regulations or how countries are going to open or not their borders, we will see people moving. But let's keep conservative on this aspect. Most of the tourism probably is going to be domestic. So the options that came out, what are the options? There are very few, but important things here. First is you need to react. React means put yourself on a position where you're open to listen, to see, and to dialogue with other property managers, with other professionals, what's going on, what are my options. So you need to react. This is first of all. You need to be not to be locked down at home crying, no, just to stand up and react. Transform. You need to know that your business may be transformed, so you need to flow a little bit with this kind of transformation. It could happen. We're always talking on short term because we believe that in middle or long term, things will back to normal. Not exactly as it was before, but neither the other way around. This is why we got to the next point. You need to be optimistic. People, during this crisis, we have seen many kind of reactions. So, and some people saw this crisis coming when they were watching news and seeing what was going on in China. And they saw it coming, so they got prepared, mentally prepared. Others ignored or didn't just see it. So when they saw the crisis on top of them, they suddenly are shocked, and then they're not reacting properly, and they go from the denying what was going to happen to the other way around. It's been super pessimistic, and that's not either good. So you need to be optimistic and think on middle and long term, because short term is negative. Definitely the impact of the crisis got everybody by surprise. So that a negative impact, you can have it, you can be depressed for 1-2 days, but after that, you need to react, and react in an optimist way, making strategies in short and middle, long term. So that's one of the options you have, to be optimist. The other one, it's not an option. Being negative, I don't think will take you out of here anyways. And then being a leader, that's very important to keep the attitude of leaders, being a guide of your business, be in front of your employees, help them to go on, to move on, give the best advices, and obviously guide the ones you have in your community, and guide yourself through this crisis and get out. So those are the options. We had seen 4 sectors in general: urban, holiday, beach holiday, mountain, and sky. And we're going to see on each of them how are the options, or what can we find here. So in urban area, there is some potential strategy and some options. So we will start by the expect to rise. Do you expect to rise in urban? Well, not in short term, definitely, but in middle and long term, perhaps yes, because there is a lot of changes that will happen in the market. And one of these changes is that the people will not use hotels as first option, because they need to be, or they may want to be more secure at home, and less mobility. Maybe it will be less mobility, so they would prefer to stay in a property rather than a hotel. So you may get in middle and long term a benefit of these situations. The bookings definitely locked down to 0, and most of them lost. You can see all of this data on the analysis we have been making during this week with our experts. They're all in videos. You can see them on our website on www.VRSafeHarbor.com, and then you can see how the graphs drop down to 0. A business transformation, yes, there is an opportunity of business transformation on urban areas. And this may was a consensus on all the experts were that they are going to go to long term. Most of the property or portfolios or the urban properties were locked down, and the authorities they just prohibited to rent short term. So one of the options you have is go on a long term, but also the demand is on a long term basis. So it's a good match. So you can think about that. Also, as we said before, expect your customers coming from local. Don't expect people coming from international. So those areas where there used to be congresses, etc., should be very careful now. It may not come international travelers, but always local. So just focus on local people. And almost 100% of the cities were closed in all countries. There are some exceptions, but in those cases, this is a short-term period. As soon as we get out of the health crisis, definitely things will go back to normal. You will be able to come up back to your business. You need to take care of your business now. So think about the future and start working and preparing how is it going to happen. And an alternative use on urban, as we said before, is long-term medical community workers, people who need a property in a place, people who may need to have an office open and there's no office, but you need to be around. So there are options in the urban areas. The second one is beach summer holidays. We also have a potential strategy you may have. And one of them is it may be an expectation to rise. We still don't know by the end of the crisis, but you can start now making summer promotions and discounts with flexibility, because if this healthy crisis is ending by the end of May, beginning of June, you may are on time to catch your high season on July and August. So there may be an option, an opportunity, so don't miss your chance. Indeed, most of the bookings, 80% of the bookings we have seen during these weeks, they are kept. A lot of people kept the bookings that they were already made for the season. Obviously, the bookings, they dropped, but the ones who were made before March, they are all kept because people are expecting, and also because there were some restrictions. At this point, we can give you some also good advices later on. On this case, you don't have many business transformation opportunities, perhaps long-term rentals, but in this case, for the next summer, you may consider going back to the minimum stay, 1 week, 2 week, and make a discounts for long stay as a formula, as it used to be in the past. It works very well. You can do a good discount, minimum stay, and people more or less, I believe now, they're going to get their holiday, especially because of this period of lockdown at home. So it's going to be longer periods, so you can actually ask for a minimum stay, 1 week, 2 weeks, and then it will probably work. Again, on those areas, summer holidays, don't expect people coming from abroad, international flights. It will be most of the tourists local. And as said before, 80% of bookings are on hold, so let's see what happens. Good advice here would be that you take care of your travelers, of your tourists. You keep them reported, you send them emails. Also, let them know you're taking measures against coronavirus and you are cleaning up the properties very well, you're doing an effort, and try to offer them, if you still are on time, some flexibility, some vouchers in exchange of cancellations. Don't let them go. Try to keep them, because if it doesn't happen, there is already some people, and I can tell you, and you can also see that in one of the videos that we're launching from last week, that we had a conversation with one of the property managers. Some people who were going to Monte Carlo, to Nice in France, the Grand Prix of Monte Carlo, the one who makes the bookings, they say, okay, just keep the booking for next year. So some people who are bookings, if you do them a good proposal, they may keep that, so you don't lose that money. It's like opening a bottle of oxygen for yourself for 1 year. And an alternative use of beach or summer holidays may only be long-term also, depending on how long this lockdown is going to be. You may use your properties for long-term rentals, because there will be a lot of people after this period that would like to go to a beach or some sites to be more relaxed. They don't want to stay perhaps anymore in cities where there will be this mistrust and also the social distance, definitely after this crisis. Another option in the mountain and countryside, which is very similar to summer holidays, we still don't know until the end of this crisis, but you can also start with promotions. Bookings in the countryside, they have definitely not been cancelled. There is a huge business transformation here. There is a long-term bookings, monthly based business. I think one of the things that we saw as a phenomenon during this crisis is that people is now working remotely from home, and they see that they can keep on going that. And there's going to be a lot of companies that they're going to learn out of this experience, and some people we may have the options to get out of big cities and go to the countryside where they have a good internet connection. They may not want to stay any longer in big cities or in the traffic jams for 1-2 hours or on their way. So countryside, mountain may have an option. Don't keep yourself out of that option, because it may happen that people decide to move definitely out of big cities. Because one of the things that I think a lot of people is now reflecting at home lockdown is like the kind of life we were having, it was a little bit crazy. So this is an opportunity for property managers on mountain areas or countrysides to convert their properties on long term, because there is a demand right now. It was said by one of the experts that there is a demand on what they call the quarantine tourism, but this quarantine tourism can easily transform in people who wants to move back to rural areas. So just keep an eye on that. Definitely, again, same as on the rest, is always expect nationals, not expect a lot of internationals. The bookings they kept, and after the season lockdown, you may have an alternative to convert also mountain and countrysides in long term, definitely. Ski and snow is a very particular sector, it's very seasonal, so here that changes a little bit. The expectations to rise is very uncertain, we don't really know. The season just ended now, everybody was saying that this was a great season, but as the season didn't start yet, there is no data on bookings, so we will have to wait around 6 months to see. There is not necessary to transform the business because there is no many other business. Snow is snow, there is snow is the season you have businesses now. Most of them are low season, lockdown. Some of them they adapt. Maybe you may have an option on there. Again, here this year probably is going to be a lot of local. The season hasn't started yet, so we don't have any percentage of cancellations, and we don't believe there is an alternative use. But if you do believe so and you want to tell us, please do, and we're happy to correct this. So we have a key word during this week, and it was keep on moving. Most of the people we interview, most of the people in the panels say, you need to keep on moving, don't lock, don't get depressed, don't panic, think your strategy and react, be confident. The crisis will end in 3-4 months. We are right now deep into 3 crises. One is a social crisis, because this has been a really earthquake for everyone from a social point of view. It's a healthy crisis because this virus has caused death, it causes infections, danger, fear, and an economical crisis. The economical crisis is a consequence of all of the others, and especially the healthy one. But the economy works like cycles, so it will come back again, and the economical crisis will recover. We don't know the speed, but we know it will. So our business is not ended. You should not listen to people who is predicting the apocalypse. And it's funny because those people who start predicting the apocalypse are the ones who were denying 2 weeks ago what was going to happen, when others were seeing this coming, approaching. So you need to keep on moving, keep on having a spirit, a positive spirit, having a strategy, and moving on, preparing your next season, and obviously think on short, middle, and long term. Have a strategy that is compatible with all these stages. There were other people during this week contributing to the sector. There were some market and opinion leaders. We want to mention them in our briefing because they are very important. We saw some organizations like VRMintel, and Hinot was preparing excellent webinars. She managed to bring people like Cliff Johnson, Simon Lemon, Jason Speckham, and Stephen Milo to bring their point of view about what was happening and how you could react. I think that was very important. Our platform is an open platform, so we're not competing against anybody. We are indeed bringing up all the information we find in the net, or whatever opinion that is valuable, we bring it here. And we also want to congratulate these opinion leaders that they have been working and giving their generosity, their opinions to others to find a way to get out here. I think that a lot of people is now conscious how important is to stay together on the sector. Don't panic. The real causes of crisis may happen if people panic. When we all rest together and work and find solutions, we will see that this could be like a parenthesis. There are going to be losses. Yes, they are going to be, but not all is lost. So the attitude is very important, and the attitude of these leaders also, I'm very thankful because it's important. Other people, other players is the VRMA, the Vacation Rental Managers Association of the United States. It's been forwarding information, preparing a lot of options, and particularly the Florida VRMA, who has been sending us newsletters every 2 days, bringing up. We have seen how they are making lobby now on the government level. This is very important. I think this is a wake-up call, and this is exactly the situation, the right moment to say how important associations are. Not only 2% of the whole sector belongs to an association. And now is when you understand how important it is, because those guys in this association are moving hard, they're doing lobby, they are going to the government, telling them, hey, what about us? This is our sector. We're making a lot of losses too. And they are defending. So learn this lesson. After this crisis, remember, if you have a chance to get associated to a platform, it's not a waste of money, it's the other way around. You need to invest the money as you do invest in insurance. We're other associations that we're cooperating with, like, for example, the British Association, the Irish Associations, the French Associations, the Italian Association, Portuguese Association, Spanish Associations. We are contributing and cooperating with them, preparing panels that are coming next week, and they're bringing to us a lot of information that we are also spreading through our website. So it's very important the role of the associations are doing now, so don't forget and learn about this. But we also have individuals that we want to especially thank. It's people who has been cooperating with us during this week. There's been a lot of people like Pierre Becerril, Jorge Navarro, Rob Johnson, Anurag Benmar, Floskik, Tom Caton, Jason Lopez, Evander Miranda, Olga Pernia, Rob Johnson, Merrilee Carr, Scott Malid, Elizabeth Stickles, Miriam Soriano, Scott, Christine James, Alexia Thortu, Lucien Julian, and Andy Osborne. All of them individuals who generously, very generous, that came up with their opinions, and they came up with their points of view that we have been resuming on the videos we presented this week on the platform, but also on articles that we have posted on the website www.vrsafeharbor.com. I think those people are an example of how you need to react on these hard times, which is move on, be active, be proactive, and bring in materials. Thank you very much, guys, for this contribution. And a last message to all of the audience, please join us. We're an open group made of professionals that are generously contributing to the sector with options and information. We don't ask anyone money for this. We actually don't get paid for this. You don't have to pay any fee or whatever. This is free. But obviously, we want to as much people as possible to join us and to bring materials, because as more people contributing, as more rich we will be and providing more solutions. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. Next week we have a lot of panels with associations and other stakeholders of the sector. So we hope we can bring as much information this week. And thank you very much for staying there. It's a good motivation for us to see how many likes we have received during this week. In only 1 week of live, we've been able to reach more than 5,000 people, and we want to thank you for being there, because you are the motivation that we need to have to keep on working and bringing good materials. Okay, have a nice weekend, end of weekend, and see you next week. Bye-bye.